Hey everybody, welcome to Power Hour, starring me, Ron Harrison, the one and only Giles Tiger Thomas. In tribute to Giles, we got this on today. Today we're going to be talking about the Detroit Pro happening in a couple days over in Detroit, Michigan. Going to talk a little bit about Derek Lunsford's decision to jump into the Pittsburgh Pro, and we're going to finish it up with a little talk about drugs, and the obsession with drugs and people using too many drugs. But Giles, Detroit Pro, not the best lineup, but boy, it's a way better lineup than last year. They only had 7 guys. It's double the size now, and they added Classic. So there's 15 men's open, 13 in Classic. Who's your favorite? Let's start with your favorite.
Oh, really? Well, first, one thing, because I saw the list this morning, it came up on the old Instagram feed, and I'll be honest, I think Greggo missed a trick doing this one. Yeah, I think Greggo should have done this one. I think he should have prepped a little bit earlier. I know he had the shoulder issue, but I wished he'd done this one because, I mean, I don't see him top 3 at the Pittsburgh, so he's probably going to have to then do either Spain or Portugal or one of these European shows, which will make perfect sense for him, in the summer. I mean, Pittsburgh's a separate issue, but I think there's going to be guys, actually big names, struggling to qualify, and I think Greggo would have been one of them, and I think this would have been a really good show for him to do, but he's not in it, so I would say my favorite to win this is William Bonac.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. I mean, we didn't prep this one, guys.
No. I mean, it's. I always have to say, no disrespect to the other guys. We got some other really good competitors in the show, but Bonac, this guy's been second at the Olympia. He's been Arnold Classic champion twice. He's still at the top of his game. I don't think he's as great as he was, say, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but he's still hanging on, still looking damn good. Yeah, I mean, we'll go to his update in a second. He's looking right on track, so he'll grab his qualification. Yeah, question for you, Giles: how much longer do you think William's going to keep competing?
I don't know. I think a lot of it will center around the Masters Olympia, because I think him and Brandon, and obviously Kamal, maybe we'll see a return of Ruli. I think if really, the Masters Olympia could extend careers like Brandon, like William, because they can still, if they're still, pretty competitive in the Open, they're still getting good placings at the Arnolds, the Olympias, and they're still winning pro shows in the Open, then there's nothing to stop them doing Masters shows as well, which really, I think, could really extend their career, several years, I think. Because at the end of the day, if you pick up a few, titles like a Masters Olympia, or you're one of the top guys, then why retire? Because he's still doing really, really well. I mean, last year, I think it was probably one of, I wouldn't say a comeback, because he never stopped competing, but I think his the way he returned to greatness. I mean, don't forget, last June he beat Beirut.
Yep.
And everyone's saying Beirut is like a top 5, top 3 Olympia guy, and I was there. I was doing the commentary in Spain, in Alicante, and he beat Beirut's mate. So. And he's still got 7th at Olympia, which is a climb back up. He's still winning pro shows. He's still second in Dubai. I think he's still getting good condition. There's no visible injuries. I mean, there's a couple of things you can see, like people like us with the trained eye that knew his physique from when he started back in 2012. I remember seeing him as an amateur at the Arnold Classic in 2011. So we know this guy's physique in out, but he's still inside out. So he's still bringing really, really good condition. So if he's still bringing good condition, he's got no injuries or health issues, and he's still winning shows and placing well at the Arnold Olympia, why should he even think about retiring? Because a couple of years ago, Brandon and William, I thought, were really on the slide, but they've managed to claw it back. And I think if the body's still willing and they're still willing, then guys just keep going till the wheels fall off.
Fair enough. Yeah. So that's our favorite, guys. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion. It never is, but he's going to be very, very tough to beat. But let's look at who else might have a chance, right? It's a competition, guys. So let's go to the UK for the shed, James Hollingshead. So James had a little slip at the Arnold compared to the last time he had done the Arnold, where he was top 5, dropped a couple spots. I thought he looked pretty good. The condition never shows as well on stage with this type of lighting as it does in the gym, of course. But yeah, James has been a trooper, man. He's been getting better and better the past few years. Can he push William for the win on this?
No, I don't think so. I think he'll place well. I think he maybe been about third or fourth. But I mean, I actually saw James 2 weeks ago. I was up at Anth Bales, the 212 Pro.
Oh, yeah, I know Anth, of course. He's diabetic, isn't he?
Yeah. It was his 5th gym, Ultraflex gym anniversary. And they had a gasp event. So I met Matthew from the Euromuscle show. Me and Lauren went up. We all trained legs together. And then James showed up, to show his support and cheer everyone on the deadlift challenge, because the gas do this like deadlift challenge thing. So I went over and said hi. I mean, I was training because I was a bit busy, So, but I said hi and stuff. So it was nice to see him. Yeah, I've got Sasan as pushing William, mate, not James. I mean, I think James will be up there. I mean, I've seen the updates. He looks absolutely fantastic. The condition's good. He's come down. He's got that. I think he's had a bit of a leg injury, hasn't he? He's had struggled with his leg training, which he's been working around. And I mean, it's not like his legs are small, but they're down a little bit, a tiny bit. Really. I mean, that's really been nipped. But he looks good. He looks good. Condition's good. But I think I've got Sasan edging him out, mate. I think maybe James get third here. I think that's more realistic. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Sasan's really good. I'm going to show people Sasan because I don't think all the fans this side of the pond are familiar with Sas Heirati.
He's good. He's really good.
So this is from M-Pro in Spain, which Bonac won. Vissers was second. Yeah, you were there. Mm-hmm. So third was Crizo, and Sasan got fourth. You've known Sasan the whole 10 years he's been a pro. Is this as good as he's ever been, or do you see anything in the physique that's kind of gone downhill? No,
because the last time he competed was 2017, then 2018, and he was second at Cali to Nathan in 2018. Was it 2018? Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. I was New York Pro that year.
Yeah. So he's I think people just a lot of the fans, they just don't realize or remember how good he was. And this was this was a warm up for his comeback. This was kind of like he's on his road back. But if you've seen any of the recent updates, he's got that, because I commented on there a few times. You can probably see my comments. The 2018 size is back and then some. So I think he's got that 2018, because sometimes if you take a few years, he had a few years off too. Because I saw him last year. I took Andrew Jack to a gym that he trains at, and he said, he's basically happy to be coming back. And he said, I just need more time in the gym to kind of get myself back to kind of my best and my biggest. And I think this last year that he's had, because obviously he had to get back in the game by doing the M-Pro last year, and it was a good result. I was chatting to him backstage, and you could see he was in condition, but all the size wasn't back. It's like sometimes when these guys take layoffs and stuff, sometimes they need more than maybe 6 months back in the gym from, almost scratch, or prepping like a bodybuilder rather than just going to the gym and training and exercising. So this extra year, I think the size is back. I don't know, the update though with the back, I don't know whether it was just the lighting, but he didn't look as hard. I looked at the comments and nobody else noticed it. And I don't know whether it was just the poor lighting and the no tan or whatever, but he didn't look as hard and dry as I expected him to. But then again, sometimes you get these guys that when they pull water and sodium and all that, they tighten up, the tan goes on, maybe he will look better, but I think he's going to be bigger. But the thing is with Sasan, I've never actually seen him out of condition. He's like a Bonac, it doesn't matter how he looks, week, 2 weeks out, 4 weeks out, whatever. Just say you look at an update and it's not exactly what you'd expect. He's very, very consistent for bringing good condition. And look at the legs. The legs are dry, separated, striated. I don't think he's going to miss. And I'm just wondering if he could beat Bonac. At his best, I think he could give Bonac a run for his money. But if I was to actually, give my absolute opinion on it, I think Bonac will just about take this one. But I think Sasan will push him, and I think he'll be second.
Fair enough. All right, let's look at who else we got. So Carlos Thomas Jr., I've been looking at his Instagram, not one update since the Arnold Classic. So I was kind of skeptical that he was even doing this show, but he's on the list. I've been hearing rumors about a split with him and Patrick Tour, but I haven't seen any confirmation from either Carlos or Patrick. So I'm just going to treat that as a pure rumor, which, I got suckered into believing Robbie Robinson was dead less than 2 weeks ago. You know, don't believe everything.
Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Who said that? Do you know who said that?
No, so remember, who said that in the 80s? They said rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Because obviously, if somebody's saying that, they can't be dead.
It was originally Mark Twain, the American writer.
That's right. I thought it was Tom Platz.
Tom Platz. Well, Carlos, when I saw him at the Arnold, I kept thinking, if he had another 4 weeks, he could be bang on. You know, the back still needs a little work, because good Lord, that the shoulders, the arms, the legs, just so massive and round and full. But the condition wasn't where I would have liked to have seen it, or I'm sure you weren't completely pleased with it either. I just wonder. I wonder if the fact that we're seeing no updates since then is a good sign or a bad sign.
Well, when I saw the competitor list, I was surprised to see his name on it because he completely gone out of my mind because I've not seen any updates. And to be honest, you know, I'm good friends with Patrick. Now, really, I could send a message to Patrick right now and he would probably say yes or no or whatever. And he would tell me maybe something, you know, he would tell me basically straight exactly the truth. But I haven't. So I don't know whether that's true or whether that's not true. But you would think you'd maybe see a few updates here and there, maybe on Patrick's feed, on Carlos's feed. And the thing is, you and I know that when athletes go quiet on social media, especially when they've done a show and then they're doing another show, that's either a very good sign or a very bad sign. So I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what to make of this. Has he just been quietly getting his head down, looking at the Arnold, thinking, right, okay, I really, really need to get the condition and the separate, like the legs from the side, the glute ham, you know, that kind of tie-in was just really blurry. Remember he posted the update and somebody said, how many weeks out is this? And he says, it's 4 days out. And I was like, and he looked several weeks out, you know. It's just such a shame because it has to do with this the colitis, not colitis.
Also, yeah, it's ulcerative colitis.
Ulcerative colitis. So I really, really feel for Carlos because he has got one of the most phenomenal physiques on the planet. I mean, really, if you look frontal bicep, you know, those updates were all blowing our minds. I mean, look at his arms, his legs, he's got everything there. But until he really brings in that level of condition and separation, he's always going to be stuck. He's going to be third in Texas Pro. He's going to be not top 6 at the Arnold when you know he could be. So I still remain hopeful because Carlos is still a pretty young guy. He's still a young athlete. But I kind of want to see more now. I want to see something more, you know, because like all those updates in the lead up are absolutely mind blowing. And I'm sure, you know, you and I have seen him in the flesh when you meet him up close to close. Like, look at that, the frontal bicep. I mean, it's like, you know, he's not hurting on genetics. Do you know what I mean? So it's frustrating when we have these guys that just aren't quite, they're not there yet. And they are compared to what we expect from them and what we see on the social media to then what we see on stage. Unfortunately, it is a disappointment until they start bringing something that we kind of expect from the very, very top guys, you know? Yeah. You know, something like the Arnold Classic or the Olympia, you know, you go to a show like that, or you go to the shows or like Pittsburgh or something, you know, and you're going up against those absolute top guys, you know, then you see the difference between the tier 1 pros and then the tier 2 pros. But I mean, how old is Carlos? He still must be what? How old is he? 30 maybe?
I think he's 31. I think him and Lunsford are the same age. He's 30 or 31. He's very young.
You know, let's compare him to someone like Lunsford, who's the same age and probably, I mean, Lunsford's been around since 2017. Carlos turned pro in what, 21 was it? 21?
I think it was 21, yeah.
Yeah, the Nationals. I remember covering it on Globe Muscle.
Okay.
But I think he's still a diamond in the rough until he addresses these areas. So, but, you know, for now, he's a guy with potential that, you know, but he's got the potential to break through to those top levels. But right now, what I saw at the Arnold Classic, I'm not seeing it. But let's see what he brings to Detroit, because I would, you know, like I said about Lunsford, I said all Lunsford has to do is show up to the Arnold looking better than he did at the Olympia, and it's a win for him, not necessarily even if he wins the show. So for me, I just want to see Carlos better than he was at the Arnold Classic, and then you know, because I know he only did one show. Was it last year? You know, he did one show last year. You know, I think with the colitis, I think it is tough for him to prep. So, I mean, I did think actually if anyone could help him with something like this, it would be someone like a Patrick. Because Patrick, I remember speaking to Patrick about Ronnie Raquel when, you know, he's prepping with diabetes, and Patrick went into so much detail. We sat face to face. I forget where it was. Was it Dallas? and he sat me down and he told me about, you know, how he prepped him with his carbs and timing. And I thought it was so detailed and intricate, you know. And then I saw Ronnie Raquel eating chocolate backstage. I was like, what are you doing? You shouldn't really be eating that, mate. You know, that would, you know, unless you're going to put in a big shot of insulin to cover it. But yeah, so I'm just thinking, like, you know, when, you know, sometimes you think, oh, he's working with Patrick. Well, that's going to absolutely work, you know. And he's a smart guy. He's a dedicated athlete, you know. So he's obviously doing everything that he can do to get in condition. It's not because he's lazy or he doesn't want to do cardio or doesn't, you know, or he's too busy or his job's in the way or whatever. You know, he's obviously doing everything he can. So I feel frustrated for him. But so for me right now, he's a diamond in the rough. But I just want to see him. I don't care where he places. I just want to see that he's 5 to 10% better than he was at the Arnold. And then I think he can shut it down and then regroup and come back for next year.
Fair enough. We also have, this gentleman was 3rd place last year in Detroit. They call him Mr. RPG, another Ronald. He was blessed or cursed with that name, just like me. However you want to look at it. Very, very solid. Looks like a tall guy. He reminds me of Joel Stubbs. Green vibe. I think I'd like to see a little bit more leg sweep on him, but that upper body, look how wide his clavicles are. He's
massive. I remember interviewing him when he was having to sort of climb the wall during COVID times. He was having to, remember he hid in the cupboard.
What?
Do you remember when he said he was sneaking into the gym to train, and they was a security or whatever, and he had to go hide in the cupboard at night because they were like searching the property to make sure that no one was in there, because obviously during COVID times, this massive guy like hiding in the gym in between sets, you know.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I like him. He's one of those guys that, I mean, you see him on social media and you just think, my God, this guy, he literally looks like a superhero. I mean, his proportions are like, they remind me of kind of Delette, Joel Stubbs, you know, the exaggerated shoulder width, the tiny little waist. But he never seems to get a good placing. I remember he did, was it Tampa or Chicago? And he was like,
I saw him in Tampa. Yeah, I think he was like toward the bottom of the top 10, I want to say.
It was like 12th or 11th or something. And I was thinking, you know, and you see the update and you're like, holy shit, this guy is an absolute freak of nature. You know, and you just like, you look at him, his arms, his shoulders, he's got those cartoons. Do you know what? To be honest, you don't really see that nowadays. You don't really see the Paul Dillettes, the Marcus Rules, the Ronnie Coleman. You know, the real like cartoon character like proportions. And this isn't the guy that's using like, you know, video editing and, you know, and Photoshop and stuff like that. I mean, you can see there he has, you know, I mean, if you saw him walking down the street in like a vest and shorts, I mean, he just, you know, he'd stop traffic. But something doesn't quite get that love from the judges, does he? By the time he hits the stage, because he's got good condition, he's got a good X frame. Yeah, so I'm hoping he has a good look in here. Actually, and hopes he has a good showing, because I kind of like those crazy cartoon character type bodybuilders. I think they make the sport really exciting.
I mean, this I just want to show this one more. This front double bicep of his, gee. It looks like AI.
It does. It looks like, to be honest, it reminds me of Andrew Jack when he was doing front double biceps. You just think, where? I mean, his arms look massive hanging there, and then they lift them up, and everything just kind of just comes from nowhere. Yeah. Just everything just jumps off the bone. It's like, I mean, he's one of those guys that could just, I don't know. Yeah, I like Ronald. I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's a cool guy, and I like it when he because he gets those really nice suits tailor made, and I just, you know me, I think bodybuilders in suits, especially when they get them specially made, and he's someone who takes a pride in dressing nicely. He's not always in hoodie and baggies.
So I want to just give a couple quick mentions to some other guys that we've seen before. Aaron, I think it's Aaron Golly, I think he pronounced it, from Canada. Big dude. I've seen him compete a couple times. Yeah, you interviewed him on Global Muscle before. Yeah, solid dude. I think he's 260, 270 on stage, something like that. Gives me kind of an Ian Valliere vibe.
I think he's more, isn't he?
He probably is
more, because he talks about his body weight, and it's something like ridiculous, like 300 and something pounds in the off season, and he's just an absolute giant of a man. Yeah,
I want to say he's 6'2", something like that. I mean, you're a better judge of height, because to me everybody's tall. So another guy I want to make mention, because he's very loyal on my lives, and we talk on Facebook and stuff sometimes. Walter Martin, because he was kind of dismissed by Nick Walker when Fuad and Nick and a couple of the guys were doing their Detroit Pro, Nick said, "I've seen enough after seeing just a couple pictures." Which, yeah, come on, guy.
Really?
Yeah. So Walter's almost 50 years old, but he's still.
So how old?
I think he's 48 or 49.
God, he's ancient.
Yeah, you're 48.
I thought, yeah. Hey, that's young.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, there's a lot of pro debuts in this show. I mean, a lot of the names. In fact, I was trying to search briefly through them this morning, and I wasn't even following half these guys. So there's a lot of new guys. So I mean, I like to think these kinds of shows. I think always quite exciting when you get someone new that actually makes an impact. Actually, like, whoa, who's this guy? I've never even heard of him. Never seen him before. I think that's quite cool. That's quite cool. So it's nice to see new faces, and I'm happy for Fuad actually, because I mean he's pretty much gone from 16 to 15 competitors in the Open.
Yeah.
You know, he's putting the effort in with the black backdrops and the good lighting and stuff like that. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see he's been rewarded for that. That kind of effort. And I remember seeing videos of Fuad's Instagram where he's showing the venue, and you can see he's taken a pride in putting on a really, really good event here.
And just to point it out, because I'm doing a watch party this Saturday, which I hope you can be part of. Free live stream. The only other free live stream I know of. Too expensive. But that's
I'm not paying that. I'm not paying that.
What a gift for the fans. Someone said that he needs to raise the prize money. I said he's already paying more than most of the pro shows at that level. He's got 3 or 4 extra awards, like the John Meadows, Cedric McMillan. He's got extra awards for different things with cash prizes. Black backdrop, free stream. Come on, guys, give Fuad a break. This is only the second Detroit Pro. So I just it takes a couple of years to get these shows really, really, really rolling. But I think this, he's making progress. He's kind of, he's leveling up from last year. And I think he's doing quite a bit with the amateurs as well, which obviously helps the revenue to help make these pro shows happen. Oh, you have to have an amateur part of your show or else you're not making money. So just to point out, this is Ralph Farah, who I believe George Farah said was like a distant cousin, a third cousin or something. I remember him saying they were related somehow. So good luck to Ralph Farah. Who else I want to show you? Just one other guy, and only because he's moved up from Classic. Bartley Weaver IV. The reason I show him is because he's a competitive eater.
I saw something on that on Instagram today. Someone said he's a competitive eater. Do you know what though? Can I say that? I hate all that shit.
He's 5th in the world.
I can't. That's not something I would ever entertain ever watching. I just think, I just think they're gross. I think those things are gross. But good on him. He's obviously he's on The Rock there. The Rock on the Titan show. Cool.
Yeah, he did that, and
cool.
So he's put some mass on. I wish him the best. It's gonna be tough. He's a cool guy. I had him on Ron Line Report a couple years ago. He was a cool dude. So I wish him the best.
But hang on, he's got pretty good abs for someone who's a professional eater.
That's the weird. I asked him. I asked the stupidest questions. I said, "Let me be honest with me. Do you throw up after that? Do you go throw up? Because I would." He's like, "No. He feels physically awful for a little while, but he doesn't go. I would just vomit all that shit immediately." He's done stuff like 150 chicken wings in 10 minutes. 3 large pizzas in 5 minutes or something. You
want to see me in Nando's, mate? I can pretty much put the food away. I can put the food away.
Nando's. All right. So that is the Open. So let's stop that because we have a good battle shaping up in Classic.
I'm saying no. Chris missed a trick doing this one. He should have done this one.
Well, the good thing is we'll talk about the Pittsburgh because everyone's up in arms at Derek did. Well, we'll get to that, but let's finish up with just 2 guys in Classic I want to mention. So Matt Greggo, who is Derek Lunsford's training partner, he was 3rd place at the Arnold behind Mike Sommerfeld and Logan Franklin. And he is, as you coined the phrase years ago, on the rise. He's definitely the favorite for this.
Going back to the Arnold, I actually had the Bull beating him.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I think the Bull's got a better physique, but it's better balanced physique. If you actually look at what Classic is, I just think chest and arms is a little bit lacking maybe, and I just thought the Bull's got overall better flow and symmetry for a Classic. But like I said, it comes down to your individual interpretation of what you think is Classic. Look at this video again now. He does look really, really good. Yes, I would say he is the favorite to win this. Statistically, he was 3rd, Wesley was 5th. So And the thing is, coming third in a show as big as this, he's going to be riding high and knowing that he's going to be the favorite statistically, especially with his training partner as well, winning the Arnold. Those two guys are going to be, their sessions are going to be on fire. They're not going to be missing a beat. So, yeah, I would say he is the favorite. But, of course, you know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah, well, we'll get to him in one second. I just want to show some recent updates from Matt. Yeah, I'm impressed with this guy. Honestly, when he first came on the scene, he's very young. I think he's only like 26.
Is he?
He first came on the scene. I wasn't very impressed with him, but he's put on a lot of size. I think he was 15 pounds under his weight limit when he first started.
Wow, holy shit. And he's big. He's got a lot of size.
No, he was. He's not under the weight limit anymore.
Sorry.
But that's when he started. I was like, this guy really needs to fill out. And sure enough, I think I'm not sure about this. And people correct me in the comments because you always do when I'm wrong. I think he moved to Florida to Tampa area to train with Derek. And look at that back.
They better not fall out, otherwise it's a complete waste of time. No, to be honest, he was one of those physiques like you see a lot of classic guys on your feed, and then you see them on stage, and then you're like, they're nowhere near as impressive. But he was not one of them. He was one of the guys I was like, okay, all Instagram pictures and videos, it looks amazing, but what's he going to look like by the time he hits the stage? Is he going to be? Because you know what it's like. You can look amazing under certain lights and angles and carefully chosen pictures. Yeah. When you get up there, then sometimes, more often than not, say 2 out of 3 times, they're not as impressive. But he wasn't. He was one of the guys that actually did deliver. So I mean, he beat Wesley, he beat De Bull. These are the Arnold Classics, Arnold Classic winners, and top, sort of top Olympia guys. So to come out of nowhere just like that, and for that physique to translate well to a stage as big as the Arnold, that's bloody impressive. So, like I said, I mean, you can imagine the sessions that him and Derek have been having since the Arnold. I bet they've been absolutely on fire. So, yeah, he's not going to miss a beat. He's not going to come in off. He's probably going to come in even better than he was at the Arnold Classic. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, of course, you'd be silly to say he wasn't the favorite to win this.
All right, well, let's. It's crazy to use the word underdog to describe this man, Wesley Vissers, because he was the defending Arnold Classic. He picked up the Arnold Classic, Ohio and UK wins last year, back to back. Best Wesley we had ever seen. Didn't look quite as impressive at the Olympia. And I don't know, man, he looked a little bit flat here to me, and he dropped down to 5th place. But a lot can change in 4 weeks' time. So, you did one of your Olympia All-Star tours with Wesley. You've interviewed him several times. I like Wesley a lot. He's a very, very down-to-earth, intelligent, humble guy, and I wish him the best. But what do you think he needs to do to be able to get past Greggo and win this?
Well, if I'm not saying he's a liar, of course, but he said that he was sick and he wasn't too well and he lost a few pounds and he had some stomach issues. So, okay, if that's not true, then why would he be doing something like Detroit to try and redeem himself? Because if he looks the same or worse than he did at the Arnold Classic, then people are just going to say, well, he was just saying that. That's just not true. Right. So like I said about Derek for the Arnold, I just want to see them coming better than their last show, because like I said, if something was wrong, then at least, because he's shutting it down for the rest of the year regardless now. Yeah. He said that. I was kind of hoping he was going to do an open show like Prague or something at the end of the year, because I think that would have been really cool. Because I think the weight limit now is hurting him, because I'll say it again, that guest posing he did 2 weeks before the Olympia last year was a completely different version to what we've seen here at the Arnold Classic, and also obviously at the Olympia as well, where he was 8th place. So I think the weight cap is hurting him now. I think maybe the Arnold Classic last year possibly might be the best version that he can actually bring with that physique. I think the only time I've ever seen an athlete get better at their weight cap was Bumstead in 22 when he started working with Hani. Because I thought in 21 and 20, I thought Bumstead, that was the best he could look at that body weight. And I was wrong, because when he came on stage at the 22 Olympia, he made significant improvements, but his body weight didn't change. So, and I'm sure Wesley and Stefan know what they're doing. So if he wants to stay classic and he still thinks he can improve his physique at with the weight cap he's got, then, who am I to say that otherwise? So I just hope that he gets second, and I really, really, really hope that he looks better than he did at the Arnold Classic, because he was obviously disappointed with the Olympia. He's going to be disappointed with the Arnold Classic. winning it 1 year and then coming fifth the year after, that's not progress for him. That's a regression. So can he beat Greggo? I don't know. Maybe. I don't see him any lower than second. But I think anything less than second would be disastrous for Wesley right now. So he has to look better in the Arnold, and he has to, he can't place any lower than second. Otherwise, his stock is going to drop again. So I'm fingers crossed for him.
So yeah, do you believe he should move to open or stay in classic?
I just think he should try it. Because look, if he's doing Detroit and then that's it, and he's not doing the Olympia regardless of whether he wins or not, then, and the thing is, especially with the guys hitting the weight cap, right? They prep a certain way. Like a lot of the classic guys prep, like I said before we started filming, a lot of the classic guys prep like the guys of the 80s and 90s do, where they don't really even, some of them don't even touch gear in the off season. They just take it pre-contest. Now, the guys on the weight cap, they're not going to be smashing the gear, getting up to 310 pound or whatever in the off season, because they can't afford to. They've just got to keep training, keep trying to improve their symmetry, their balance, and then obviously when it comes to a show, they've got to watch the body weight and make sure that they hit that limit, and they can't afford to grow too much. It's like, I remember I was one of my training partners, one of the top 70 kilo guys many years ago, and like as soon as he'd start using a bit of GH at about 8-9 weeks out, like he would get harder and his body weight would go up like 2 or 3 kilos. But he'd literally be in shape from 8 weeks out because certain things just. But he used to worry about being able to make the 70 kilo weight limit. So someone like Wesley, just say he says, do you know what? I'm not going to have to restrict my food in the off season. I can maybe take a little bit of stuff in the off season. I can prep, because prepping as an open bodybuilder compared to a bodybuilder that's already dangerously, close or bang on the weight cap. I think I'd love to see him just say, do you know what? I'm just going to have a proper bodybuilder's off season, and I'm going to come into a show with no restriction. I'm not even going to weigh myself. I'm just going to get Stefan to do my check-ins just purely on visual, and we're going to do food and training and gear and everything differently, and we're just going to try one show as an open. I would personally, I think he'd surprise himself. And I think, like Bumstead did the Prague last year, which actually I had him winning, beating Martin, which didn't please too many people, but who cares? It's the I don't know, but obviously he wants to take the rest of the year off and wants to stay in classic. So who am I to argue with that? But I just personally, I would just love to see him. I'd love to see him in a call out in an open show, just to see how different he looked, because I keep going back to that German guest posing. Guys, if you're watching this, try and find the guest posing he did 2 weeks before the Olympia last year and see the difference and compare those photos and videos to how he looked at the Olympia just 2 weeks later, and tell me, and that's a guy that was prepping as a classic. He was just like literally cruising into the 2 weeks out from the weight limit, probably on the weight limit, or maybe just a few pounds over. And I'm telling you, it was a completely different physique. It was he looked like an open guy. He didn't even look like a classic guy. Because I'm telling you, when I did that tour with him last year, I mean, that was only a few weeks after, 2 months after he'd won the Arnold Classic. I mean, he was holding good condition. And he's freaking huge. Like, if people, I went to the seminars, we were taking him to all the appearances and stuff like that. They were like, they couldn't believe. They were like, that's a classic guy. He's huge. Because obviously he's tall, but he's really big, and he wasn't bloated and full of water. He was really sharp. He was in good condition. So to me, I'm thinking, is this a guy his body is screaming to go open? Like Lunsford maybe, in 21 when he won the Arnold Classic. When he won the Olympia as a 212. I mean, his body, like he said to me, I spoke to his wife at the Olympia, and she said, yeah, that winter, she said he was eating kale salad, and he was still, his body weight was still going up. It's like he couldn't hold it back anymore. So I would love to see Wesley say, do you know what? Let's just do this just for the rest of 2025. I've just got second or third or whatever, or one Detroit or whatever. Let's just prep as an open and just not worry about body weight and and let's just prep differently and see how big I can get and how I can look. Because I really do think he'd surprise himself. I'm not saying he'd win something like Prague against some of these top level guys that open show does bring. But I think he'd raise a few eyebrows, mate. That's what I'm saying.
He should do Pittsburgh. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's that wraps up our Detroit Pro preview, guys. So I will be doing a live watch party. It's this Saturday, judging at 9, finals at 5. I'm thinking they're going to start with amateurs. It is a free live stream on Fuad Abiyad Media, but you can also watch it along with me, Mike Cox, Giles, and throw your 2 cents in and argue with us and call us names and have all kinds of fun with us. So let's move on to the announcement that came. It was yesterday morning, I think. Derek posted a chest training video, and after watching him train chest for 35 minutes, he sat down and told
year that the Pittsburgh Pro is going to have open bodybuilding. You know, for me, I felt like the spirit was telling me the day after the Olympia, you have to do the Arnold. And like I said, I'd had it in my head that the Pittsburgh Pro was something that I wanted to do this year. You know, like I said, I'm very hungry and ambitious to compete. I've only done the Mr. Olympia for the last several years, so I wanted to compete more. As I just mentioned with the Pittsburgh Pro guest posing, I feel that the Pittsburgh Pro is going to be what I would call a legacy show. Meaning if you have that Pittsburgh Pro title, that is a real notch in your belt. That is a real title that you can carry with pride. With that being said, the position that I'm in right now, having just come off of the Arnold Classic win, to do the Arnold Classic, to do the Pittsburgh Pro, and to do the Olympia all in the same year and be victorious in all three would be another monumental historical moment in bodybuilding history. So for me, that excites me. That's what gets me moving, gets me out of bed, and makes me hungry as ever to get after it every single day. So that being said, that's the announcement, is that I will be doing the Pittsburgh Pro. So I'm very much looking forward to standing on stage with these guys, and then of course I will see everybody at the Mr. Olympia this October.
So I said on another podcast, if he wins the Pittsburgh and wins the Olympia, this was the greatest idea of all time. If he wins Pittsburgh and doesn't win the Olympia, it was the biggest mistake of all time. So I guess time will tell, but peaking 3 times in 7 months, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's going to be amazing if he's able to pull this off and get his Olympia title back at the end of the year. But I don't know. The worry ward in me is concerned that maybe staying on prep this long isn't the best idea. Samson's all done. He's rested up. Hadi's been resting since last Olympia.
Yeah.
Martin's doing Pittsburgh too, but these are 3 Olympia champions. So what were your thoughts when Derek made this big announcement?
I kind of like the fact that losing the Olympia really, really hurt him, didn't it? It really put a fire under his ass, because I think he really liked, obviously he liked being Mr. Olympia. To then go to the Olympia and people saying, actually, you should have been 4th over Martin should have beat you. I mean, look what it did to Ramy. Effectively, when Ramy went 1st to 5th, I know he did the Arnold Classic, but it really hurt him. We haven't seen him since. We've not seen or heard from him since. I mean, he's completely vanished. No one really talks about him. So I like the fact that he was like, because straight away, because he didn't complain about the Olympia, he didn't. I didn't see anything of him whining or saying politics or this or that. He basically just said, guys, I'm doing the Arnold Classic. He did what he did at the Arnold Classic, looked fantastic. And thing is, obviously now Samson's been putting a lot out there that the pros need to compete and he likes competing and we should compete and stuff like that. And I think this is this is Lunsford's reaction to that. I think he's like, okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're doing, Samson. I see what you're saying. I think he's made a huge statement now by winning the Arnold Classic. And I think about how good you'd be feeling compared to how shit you were feeling 6 months before. In October, you've walked off stage and you're 3rd place at the Olympia, and you're looking at the comments and people are saying, actually, you should have been 4th. Yeah. And then, and Hadi should have beat you the year before. I mean, that would really, really piss me off. So the fact that he's now come back and he's beat the current and defending Mr. Olympia, plus also, and I know I don't care what the athletes say, the prize money is a factor as well.
Sure.
Because he's just won 500,000 at Olympia, and he's thinking, well, I've beaten Mr. Olympia, so really, I'm technically, in many people's eyes, I could be construed as the world #1 right now, even though he doesn't have the Sandow in his possession. So he's probably thinking, well, why shouldn't I go pick up another 100K? Why shouldn't I? And then obviously that's going to give him momentum and confidence to go into the Olympia to win that 600. So that's 1.2 million. So there's 1.2 million reasons why he wants to, because he really wants to redeem himself. And I think that's a real warrior spirit. That's a real fierce attitude to have. Like, okay, third place. Okay, right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go for these 3 shows and I'm going to win all 3. I'm going to prove to everyone that I am the world's best. Because right now, you could forgive him for thinking that, he's kind of like the number 1 back in position now. And now all he has to do now is just follow through, keep prepping, do the Pittsburgh, which I think he'll win easily. I think he'll win it quite handily. I don't see Nick or Martin or anyone. I don't see them touching him. And he's not going to come in off. He's not going to come off his prep. I think this has been in the works for a while. And then I think he's just going to try and he's going all out this year to win all 3. And also, I mean, thing is, should I say this?
Go ahead.
If the Manions were going to ask him, because obviously it's a new show, they're looking to build this into something like an Arnold Classic. They're looking to build this into a major event. They would have called him and they would have said, because at the end of the day, they want those big names in that show. Would he really say no to them? And think, oh, okay, well, it's 100K and it's a few weeks extra prep. Oh, go on then. It's not that much of an imposition, especially when he knows that Samson's not going to be there. He knows he's probably going to beat Nick quite handily. So it probably wasn't 100% decision that he wanted to make, but thought, you know what? Okay, then, this is a relatively easy 100K, and it'll give me even more momentum going into the Olympia. And the thing is, in his head, even though that saying yes to the promoters of that show will give him any benefit to doing the Olympia, that it's going to give him confidence. Yeah. And I think sometimes, because it has no effect on the judging. It's not if Derek comes in off on Hadi and Samson, they're not going to put him, that's not going to affect his placing. But maybe in his mind, he's thinking, do you know what? Maybe this will give me momentum with just in myself rather than with external factors, let's say. So
think about how many guys have ever won the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year. I can only think of Dexter Jackson and Ronnie are the only 2 I can think of.
Brandon, 2019.
Oh, Brandon. Okay, there you go. That's why we have you here, Tiger.
Dexter, 2008.
Yeah. So it would be a fantastic achievement if he's able to pull that off. And I don't doubt that he can, but I was hearing some weird things from people like, well, he's probably doing it so him and Chris Aceto can really make sure they have the peaking and the prep down. Well,
yeah. Do you know what? That is a factor, because look what happened last year to Derek. He did 1 show, he missed, and he's woke up that morning from being Mr. Olympia, and then he's walking off stage and people are saying he should have been 4th. I mean, that's the biggest show. That was one and done. You had Samson doing like the France show 2 weeks before to try and, I don't think he should have done that, but obviously it worked out great for him. Yeah. But would have been a gamble I would have said not to take. But, it's just my opinion. But Derek's hell bent now. And the thing is, like I said about Matt Greggo, his confidence is sky high right now. You've just to be honest, if I was Derek, I'd be pulling myself back to not do every single show, because I'd be thinking, shit, I am the number 1 now. I need to really go rubber stamp it. And it must be hard because he's enthusiastic. Because think about it. He's gone from, like I said, like 3rd, 4th at Olympia, to I've just beaten the current Mr. Olympia. And it wasn't even debatable. I mean, I think he won it quite clearly, purely because his conditioning was so good. His physique was. Do you think his Arnold Classic look was better than when he won the Olympia?
I do actually. I was looking at that. So here was a 23 Olympia.
Better side shots. I think his side shots are better. Yeah, it's not far off, is it?
We were all complaining, well, not all of it, but the lack of detail across the front. The chest, the shoulders, the arms. He's definitely improved on that. He has. No, he has. His side chest and his side tricep now is light years better than it was at the Olympia when he won it. I mean, his back's always been a strong point. Condition was never an issue with him. But yeah, I think he's better now than he's ever been. So, the one other argument that I know what you're going to say. Some people are upset because they're saying, well, now if he's doing all these shows, he's taking away Olympia qualifications from other people.
Tough shit.
Like poor Nick Walker might not win Pittsburgh now. He might have
Crimea River, Ron. Do you know what? Do you know what though? I think it makes it interesting. I think what's going to happen is I think these guys are really going. Like Crizzo is not going to win. He's not going to qualify here. Nick Walker might not win this. He might not qualify. He's probably going to win the New York Pro.
Right.
So there's going to be a couple of guys that that maybe are going to have to maybe do some European shows or Toronto or the Legion. So the other promoters must be thinking, do you know what? This is actually good for the promoters because it means now that one of these smaller shows than the Arnold Classic or Pittsburgh, say, is going to get some really big names in their show. So it's going to be, it's going to be a really, it makes it more interesting. It makes it great for the fans, great for the promoters. Boo-hoo for the athletes that have to do more than one show to qualify because because otherwise it's just like, I've got no problem with Derek doing this. I mean, I knew when he did that. Oh, am I doing the Pittsburgh? I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to do it because I thought I know what's happened here. He's they've rang him up and said, would you like to do it? Please, be good for us, and good for you, and not good for you in any benefit. But at the end of the day, 100K is a benefit and an extra win. And I think he really wants to dominate this year. He's going for those 3 wins. He's going for Pittsburgh and the Olympia. And to be honest, with how he did at the Arnold Classic, plus I've heard that Samson thinks that his condition was fine at the Arnold Classic.
Really? Uh-oh.
Yeah, he thinks that there was nothing wrong with it. And because okay then. So if Samson brings the Arnold Classic conditioning to the Olympia this year, where's he placing? Is he winning?
Depending on Hadi, if Hadi can get here, if he brings the same condition as the Arnold, I have him in 3rd.
Yeah, I do.
So,
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Because the thing is that there's no dominant champion anymore, and these guys are so close to each other. Like it's not like peak Ronnie, peak Dorian, peak Phil Heath, where that even if they turn up 90%, like say he turns up 85% condition like he did at the Arnold Classic, there's no guarantee that he's going to win his 2nd Olympia.
Nope.
He could. I mean, look what happened to Ramy in 22. I know Ramy didn't look nowhere near as good in 22 that he did in 21 or 20, but the judges won't be afraid to knock him down. So, and at the end of the day, there's a few people saying after the day 1 at the Arnold Classic, I know Samson's not as good this year, but he's still good enough to win it. It's like, no, actually, if they judge by what they see, not what the past achievements, and that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah. No, it used to be the case. We followed the sport a very long time. You and I, we saw Mr. Olympia champions many times come in at 85, 90% at best. And, we could point to a few shows, Victor Martinez and Jay Cutler. We could point to a few examples where Mr. Olympia probably should have lost. And these days, if Mr. Olympia doesn't show up at 100%, like Derek, Derek was flat, boom, you're done. They'll give it to the best guy on stage that day. So
the bottom line is Samson wasn't as good at the Arnold Classic than he was at the Olympia at the finals. That's anyone with a pair of eyes that knows what they're talking about can see that is the case. I mean, the stomach was not tight like it was at the Olympia. The conditioning was, I think, even 85% being generous, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the lighting is totally different, but you can see the difference in the condition here.
Yeah. But so just say Samson thinks that the Arnold Classic condition that's absolutely fine for the Olympia. Then I think he's going to get a rude awakening. I think he's not going to hold on to the title. I'd be very, very shocked if he does, especially with people like Hadi and Derek and and you've got like Nick and Andrew Jack to Martin, and I mean there's like I said, there's no dominant champion. So really, I really hope that Samson gets this out of his head and comes in, in a condition that I think he's going to have to be even better than he was at the Olympia, not the Arnold Classic, the Olympia.
Oh yeah,
because I just think fully rested Hadi, and you've got Derek completely on fire at the moment. You've got Martin who's took all this, who's going to be improved. You've got Nick coming back who's been out of it for 2 years. I mean, I tell you what, this is going to be one of the most exciting Olympias we've had for years, because nothing is set in stone. So I'd love to see Samson win a 2nd Olympia, but he's really going to have to bring something quite new to hold on to that title. So it's like I said, for the fans, it makes it very, very exciting.
Yeah, and we've said this before. We're not hating on Samson. You've said Samson at his best beats everybody.
Yeah, he's got the no. I will say, Samson actually has the best physique. I don't think if you know what if you look at what bodybuilding is, you know, and you actually look at the actual physique, the silhouette, the proportions, the measurements, I don't know, you know, the things like the flow of the physique and the joint size and stuff like that. Samson actually has quite handily the best physique, but he doesn't have the best conditioning. So that's one thing that Derek and Hadi, Martin, Andrew, Nick, you know, all these guys are going to be looking to exploit it, because they know that that's his Achilles heel. You know, last year his conditioning was good enough to win the finals. He was the rightful winner at the Olympia. It was very, very touch and go at the pre-judging, but the finals, I was like, yes, he's improved enough. He's got the best physique there. I think he deserves to win this, and he did. But you know, he's you know, these other guys are watching him. They're watching everything he's doing. They're probably hoping that he's thinking. They're probably hoping that Samson's thinking, my condition's good enough. That's good enough to win. Of course they are. So this is a strategic game. This is, you know, you look for your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. You know, I remember when Jay was, you know, he knew that to even come close to Ronnie or hope to beat Ronnie, he knew he had to get as big as Ronnie. He knew he had to bring his back up, because those back shots were where he lost the 2001 Olympia. So, you know, it's all about exploiting the potential.
Yeah, I mean, Jay came back after losing to Dexter 2009. We saw the
you know,
sorry.
They got back.
Yeah, sorry, man. We're talking over each other. So, all right. Well, that's let's move on to our final topic. This came about on Instagram yesterday, I think it was. Sam Pierce is a pro from Australia, and you and him had differing opinions. Which was it? This post, Secret Cruise?
No. Was it? I think probably that one.
Maybe my next cycle. That sounds like a likely candidate.
No, I think it's the cruise one where he's talking about going up to 4,000 milligrams, 4 grams a gear
to do on a cruise. Well, you would be the top comment. 2 cycles. My first 2 cycles, 250 mig test. No, I think it was talking about his next cycle. My next upcoming cycle.
No, that's the one.
Yeah, this is the one too.
Yeah, with a mix of Primobolan, Masteron, testosterone, the usage of GH and insulin, and now things are really basic for me and they work really well. Why would I go out and change it? I've been off gear for 5 months now, running a cruise of 500 meg total, which isn't a lot for a pro bodybuilder. But during the quad tear that I've had, I'm coming back out of it, being completely transparent. There's no real need to use anything heavier, because I'm more just trying to maintain and not lose anything in this period. Now I've had an extended period off. I can really jump back to 3.5 grams, maybe even push to 4 grams, and generally use the same compounds that I was using, except I might actually throw bold into the mix, because I always have had a liking to bowl, just not running it for a long period of time. And how I'd simply move that in without getting the meg dosage too high is just simply dropping back on either Masteron or Primobolan. Due to personal preference, I probably look to drop back the Masteron before I look at dropping back the Primobolan and replacing that with Boldenone. What is my next?
Okay, so I can't see the comments. I know you had some comments. Did he disable the comments, or I just can't see them for some reason?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, you know, we've both had a lot to say about dosages and high doses. And to some people out there, at 3.5, 4 grams doesn't sound high at all for a pro bodybuilder. That might even sound like on the low side.
Oh God! Stop it! No, stop it! You can't even. How do you even get much oil into yourself? I mean, it's.
I mean, I hear all these podcasts where people are talking about 5 grams, 6 grams of gear a week, 20 IU of GH a day. No. You know, Lee Priest is very opinionated about this, because he never used high doses of anything in his career. Phil Heath even made a post the other day saying he turned pro on 500 milligrams of test and 1 shot of Deca a week, something like that. Yeah. Why are the doses getting so high? Is it just kind of like a monkey see, monkey do, or where people are copying whatever?
Yeah, it's like, oh well, if he's doing it, then I'll do it as well. But I think sometimes people, you know, when they rush into using gear, they'll sort of, oh, so and so's doing that, and they replicate it, they mimic it. But do people actually understand how gear works in the body now? And also, let's touch on the subject of the quality of the gear, because I mean, I'd be very shocked if they had proper pharmaceutical or stuff that had, you know, test certificates and it was 100%, because, you know, to flick the switch of anabolic growth or whatever, you know, it's. I mean, like I saw Martin Fitzwater posted something about just using a bit of EQ and some tests and whatever. It was a very low dose, and he said that's what he was using in the off season, because off season is about training, It's about food. It's about rest. And to flick that switch of anabolic growth, you know, the whole process inside the body, you don't need to. You don't need to hammer it. It's just not needed. It's just not needed. I mean, like I said, some of these classic guys, some of them don't even take gear in the off season because they can't afford to. Because if they start putting on muscle and weight, and they're already at the weight cap, then they have to. This is why probably classic is probably a slightly, you know, less dangerous category to do than the open. You know, and the thing is, don't forget the guys in the 90s didn't use anything like that. You and I know that. Yeah. And you know, Matarazzo, Tom Prince. You know, we've had a lot of deaths. NASA, you know, all these guys, and you know, and that was the kind of around the time when the other compounds started to come in, like the insulin and the high levels of GH, and you know, I mean, Kevin Rowe when he won the Arnold Classic in '94 said he never even used GH. He said he never used it till '96. Yeah, you know, and you could see his physique had a different quality, a different look to it, which many people actually prefer. So, you know, GH and insulin, sometimes, you know, yeah, it's like things like insulin. Yeah, it'll put body weight on you, but it's not muscle. It's not quality size. It's just, they see the scale go up and they think, oh, I'm growing. And it's not, it's just holding. I mean, I'm on a tiny little bit of gear at the moment, and I feel fuller and more pumped because I know that the muscle's retaining more water. And, you know, it's like I'm getting those weird gear pumps again, which I've not had for years. And it's just because I'm just on those compounds. And I know it's not muscle, you know, but it's enabling me to be stronger, to train heavy and train harder and train longer. So I think 4 grams is just not needed. I mean, I think not even half that, you know, especially, I remember Dorian and Jay Cutler said when they used to use the Parabolon, you know, they used to come in those 76.5 milligram amps with the long, thin tops and stuff. I remember I used to get them. And a friend of mine used to get them for Dorian in the 90s from a French pharmacy, like literally. Yeah. And Dorian used 2 ampules a week. Yeah. Jay Cutler said, I use 2 ampules a week. Now, shouldn't I say this? I mean, no, I won't say. Okay. No, sorry. It's just, Phil, when we did the tour back in 2019, he was using tiny amounts and we weren't training or eating properly. And I took a photo, I think it was day 6 of the tour. And I said, Phil, what the hell have you been doing? He says, I told you, I respond. I was like, yeah, but you're not eating properly. We're not training properly. You know, it's tiny. Yeah, it was nothing. I get nothing. Literally, I mean, and he said, "What?" He said, "Watch how my body responds." And I was just like, "He's talking shit," you know. Wow. But it was unbelievable. So stuff like that. These guys are responders, but you don't need to. Because otherwise you're going to end up with serious health issues. And I just don't think it's even necessary. 4 grams of gear. That's just insane to me.
I mean, so I get into it on Instagram all the time and they say, you know, I'm a dick rider for the pros because I'm agreeing. I'm believing that they use these lower doses. I think there's so much, it triggers so much anger in these guys to think that even suggest that these top pros might be able to get that physique on a moderate dose because they're taking high doses of gear and they still look nothing like that. They don't want to accept that genetics are everything in bodybuilding. Yeah. Not only the actual muscle bellies and structure, but the way your body responds to gear seems to be a genetic thing because we both know people that, you know, they have, I know, because I knew back when I was in California for years, I went to a gym and there was only a couple dealers. We would go to the same guy. So sometimes I would buy the gear for me and a friend or a couple friends and bring it back to them and take their money. So I knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't taking more than what they said they were. And these people would be on 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams total a week. And they just responded so well. And there were also other guys, same thing. Yeah. They would do double the amounts and they would just get bloated and acne and losing their hair.
I reckon, I remember in the 90s and I got my friend some of this Finoplex. It was the veterinary trend, wasn't it? The year, and I got him sussed. And he was on 1 sussed of 1 mil of the Finoplex. He put 30 pounds on. Woo. This guy was benching 400 pounds, and I was training with him. And I was like, he'd be drinking and eating cooked breakfast all weekend, and I'd be going to the gym, getting up early, and I just couldn't. What's that Metallica song? Sad but True. Then I realized that sad but true. That unfortunately, genetics play a part. They do, you know, and I know a lot of people. It is a logical way to think that you think, okay, the only reason that guy is because he's taking the right combination, he's taking the right things, and he's taking the right dosages. He's doing what's necessary to be. But you know, then you don't, you know, like, I mean, how many hundreds of bodybuilders have we interviewed, and you ask about their background, and they're like, well, I was a natural athlete, I was a really good runner, I was really American. Like, you never hear, oh, I was, you know, like I was useless at all sports, and then I just kind of got into weight training, bodybuilding, and I just went longer and harder. Do you know what I mean? It's like what took maybe some people maybe 2 or 3 years, it took me 15 years to be able to get on stage and actually look decent, you know, look respectable. But I accepted it. I accepted it many, many, many years ago. And I did think actually maybe it was like, oh, maybe it's not taking GH, maybe I'm not taking this, maybe I'm not taking that. And I took all these different things. And yeah, of course I responded to it. And I had some, you know, change and stuff. But I've been around a lot of bodybuilders, trained with a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of athletes. And I've seen how, you know, genetics are different, you know, like Ronnie, like, I mean, he told me that, I remember Ronnie told me that the first stack he did was in 1995. And I think it was, I'm sure he said it was like Anavar and Winstrol or something, like, you know, what bikini, I know bikini girls that take that, you know, like figure girls take that. And then he says, oh, I put on this much. Lee Priest told me, he said, Giles, he said, my first stack, he said, when I was 20 years old and I took 400 milligram of DECA for 8 weeks, he said, because I wanted to take one compound at a time to see which and he says, and if you see those photos of me in the woods, that photo shoot, he said that if you see the difference between a few months before, he said, I look like a men's physique and then I look like a proper bodybuilder.
Wow.
He said that was 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, I remember
I put
Dennis James.
Like literally hard, lean muscle. So just, I mean, it's unfortunately, it's something that none of us want to admit. And we all want someone somebody can watch online to say, no, it's just a matter of just taking that gear. You just take it and just, you know, just force yourself with gear and food and you'll get massive. There's nothing to stop you. There's no such thing as genetics. People want to hear that. So that's why they'll always be marketed for.
I mean, it keeps hope alive. So I understand it. But I always, this is what
exactly. Yeah.
There's a ton of guys out there now taking a ton of gear and GH and insulin. Where are all the Ronnies? Where are all the Ramis? You know, where are all the freaks that we should be seeing if all these people are doing? Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. And they still think, well, I need more drugs. I remember I got into arguments with people. I did a video about Jose Manuel Munoz, because at 22 last year, still 22, he took 6th place at the Olympian Classic. He won 4 pro shows that year at the age of 22. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying, I made a video that I wanted to showcase him and say he's better than Sullick, who just turned pro, Sam Sullick. And I had all these people saying, well, Jose's on way more gear than I said, how do you know that? That was their immediate.
Probably not.
No. And they were saying, well, then they're saying he's probably got better gear in Europe. Sam's in Middle America. He can't get gear. I'm like, does he look like he can't get gear? Really? He's 270 pounds in the off season with his curly hair and his hat. Come on, guys. But
no, to be honest, it's one of the hard. I mean, I remember when I was 13, and I had this friend of mine who got me into weight training, a kid called Ashley, and I remember getting a issue of Muscle and Fitness, and there was a readable bicep of Robbie Robinson. And I said, mate, how long would it take me to look like that? And he said, about 2 years. About 2 years.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 15, I should have had a readable bicep like Robbie Robinson. I think I was still 6 foot and about 150 pounds by the time I was 15. And I'd been training my ass off for 2 years. So maybe if you'd have said, Charles, you're never going to look like that, no matter what you do, no matter what you take. Maybe that might have discouraged me. But you know, it's our sport, if you want to call it a sport. I think it's a sport. It's so different from other sports because people who follow, you know, football, soccer, baseball, hockey, they understand that these are not regular human beings. They were born with an extraordinary athletic abilities, hand-eye coordination, just different muscle fiber makeups, things that make them so great. Yes, they practice hard and they had good coaching, but they understand that you can't take anybody and make them a pro football player or a pro basketball player. But there are a lot of people who believe anybody can look like a pro bodybuilder if they just train really hard, eat a lot of food, and take tons and tons of the right drugs. It's it's a fallacy. It's the thing that's the thing I love about bodybuilding is that you can I mean, for Fun 48, the dream for me is done. Do you know what I mean? I know I'm never going to be like a Dorian or a Ronnie. You know, I gave that, you know, that idea many years ago, but you can always get better. You can, and also good thing about bodybuilding weight training, you can start at any age, and it will always benefit your health. It will always benefit your mental health, your physical health. You know, you can always I've seen people that have started weight training at their later years, and they transform themselves, you know. So that's the thing I love about it. You can always be better.
Correct.
You know, like I'm training. This is my 4th week back training really hard. I'm back training 5 days a week, which I haven't done for probably over a decade. Yeah. I'm actually not liking days off at the moment, rather than dragging myself to the gym. Like my mindset has completely switched. I've started back on a tiny bit of gear. My strength is flying up, you know, and I'm on 625 milligram a week at the moment.
Okay, total.
You know, so 250 milligram in Anthate, 200 milligram Deca. A 250 milligram of Deca, and then I'm taking 25 mega D-bol a day. That's it. And I can feel my body responding. You know, my strength is almost doubling on certain exercises. I can't believe it. You know, my shoulder's fine, and I'm enjoying my training again. I'm feeling good. You know, my body feels, you know, I'm training as hard as if I was training for a contest. You know, literally every in the gym, I'm going to not just to exercise, but to actually properly train and progress. Yeah. You know, and that for me is enough. That's enough to make me feel good. You know, physically, mentally, it's you know, and I think that's the problem. Once you stop competing, and you've had something to train for, then you've got to find that fire to train and not just exercise. Because, you know, we don't go to the gym to exercise and be good for our health. Yes, we know it's good for our health, but we go to the gym because we like to train hard.
Right. So
for us to go to the gym and train hard and actually, you know, progress, even if it's just for ourselves, I think is a very, very, very good thing. And I think life just genuinely seems to feel a little bit easier the more effort you put in when you walk through those gym doors.
Yeah, I mean, the quote that always comes to my mind, I don't know who said it. I could look it up on Google. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
If you're always comparing yourself to other people, there's always going to be another guy. Bigger arms, bigger legs, more muscle, stronger. But if you focus on yourself and improving yourself, or even if you're at an advanced stage like me, you're not improving anymore. But if you can look good based on, you know, that's all that really matters. If you're always worried about, oh, this guy's 20 pounds heavier than me, or he's got bigger arms, or he can bench 30 pounds more than me, you're always going to be miserable, because there's always going to be someone out there who's doing good. Focus on yourself. Focus on improving. Yep. You can't lose. As long as you keep improving, you can't lose. If you want a bit of perspective, do you ever go back to these school reunion things? Yes. So I bet you've come away feeling absolutely freaking awesome, because you're 54, 55? 55, yeah. You're 55, man. You look good. You're healthy. I know you got messed up shoulder and stuff, but that's kind of a war wound, you know, so there's something quite noble about that. But at the end of the day, you know, you're lean, and, you know, you'll be posting pictures in the gym, and you're proud of how you look, and, you know, you look like you could drop the hammer and do a show in 12 weeks quite easily. Yeah. You know, and, you know, if you take a pride in yourself, you've had your hairline done and stuff like that. When most guys, when they get to 10, 15 years younger than you, have already given up on themselves. Yeah. And they go, oh, I've got a job. I've got a family. I've got this. I've got that. They make excuses. Yeah. And then they just, you know, and then they just end up looking like just a mess. I mean, I couldn't live. I don't know about you, but I could never live like that. You know, I mean, I just couldn't, you know? So, yeah. I mean, if I could say one thing to the young guys out there, because they're so focused on that, if you can think of this as a lifelong pursuit, as a lifestyle that you're going to do the rest of your life, the rewards are just innumerable. I go to class reunions, and most of the guys who were looking great back then, you know, they've let themselves go. They don't care anymore. So the guys who were the studs back then, they have big beer bellies and they're bald. You know, you can't control the baldness thing, but what I'm saying is you can use the lifestyle of bodybuilding, do it in a healthy way, use gear responsibly, take care of your health, your bloods, your heart scans, all that. Yeah. Get on TRT when you need to, if that's the case, and you'll be looking and feeling better decades and decades beyond what your contemporaries have. So you know John Citrone? Yes. He's 82 now, and he's in better condition now than when he was in his 70s. Wow. He's still I trained. I mean, when Kamal rang me, and he just won the Olympia, the 212 Olympia, and he said, Giles, I'm taking my sister, my kids up to see my sister, you know, so they can see their cousins. He said, I'm going to go up for a week. Do you know any good gyms? So I recommended the gym, and I thought,
well, I'll come up as well. I said, so obviously when I went up there, I said, John, are you in Spain at the moment, in the UK? He said, no, I'm in the UK. I said, well, do you want to come and train with me and Kamal? So me, Kamal, and John trained together. And that was in 2019. So we were about 77, 76, 77 then. And he's still training hard and still. I said, do you still TRT or gear? He goes, I don't use any gear anymore. He says, I use SARMs. And he says, I do the test like every now and then, with an instant needle. I just put it in my leg. So like the guy's in his 70s and 80s, and he's still concerned with having a tan and being lean, and and he's still, because one of the reasons I wanted to see him in the last couple of years is because he's 81, 82. This guy competed against Arnold. This guy was breaking bench press records in his garden shed when he was 17.
Wow.
And I said to him, and one of the things that's like because I try to see him at least once or twice a year, because I was thinking, like when my dad got to his 80s, there was a huge change in him, which I wish I could have spent more time before he got to that point. And I was thinking, well, maybe I need to see him because maybe he's starting to cognitively. And I went to see him last year. He's still exactly the same as when I was working with him and training with him 20 years ago.
Wow.
And there's someone. I mean, look at that. Imagine being in your 80s looking like that. That's awesome.
He's been doing this. He was competing in the early 60s, I think.
Yeah. No, 63, I think, was his first show. He was a teenager. Amazing. And he was a power lifter. He was a strong man. He was just. But imagine, see, there's an example of someone. Look, he's competing against Arnold in the 60s, probably 67.
Yeah, very young Arnold there.
I mean, there's a guy that is an absolute proponent for the lifestyle. He's still conscious of what he eats. He still weighs himself because he doesn't want to put any body fat or get too heavy because he's very proud. It's not ego, or it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's or narcissism. It's like he takes a pride in himself. And I'm thinking that's how I want to be when I'm bloody 60, let alone 80.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Incredible.
Just wow. Look at that. That was, I think he was in his 60s here.
That was I think that was 96, 97, maybe 98. 98 was his peak. Wow. This is my old training plan. This is how I learned about conditioning. Because I remember, I trained with him straight for a year, and then we trained on and off for a few years after that. And, and people saw me in my first prep, and they were like 6 weeks out. One guy, this Masters guy, he stripped off, and I showed him. And he said, wow, you're shredded. And I just said, nah, I'm not shredded. I said, I'm lean, but I said, if I get on stage, I said, I won't be shredded. I said, I know what shredded is because I train with it every single day, pretty much 5 days a week, with John, So, and John, I've never seen John with body fat, ever.
Wow. Did you say he never warmed up? He just jumped right into the heavy weights?
Yeah, no warm up, never wore belts, never wore gloves or wraps, or never drank water when he trained. I was just like, this guy's a freaking Terminator.
This was almost 60 years ago, this picture over here.
Crazy, isn't it?
Wow.
But he still gets up and goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, and and he still refuses to do cardio. He likes to go and hit the gym, and he trains with his son now because his son Carlo's competing. He started competing again. I think he's in the 50s or 60s.
Wow.
I took that photo. I took that in Greece that was in 2000. That was in Thessaloniki in 2002.
Wow. Look at it. Yeah, he was always shredded. Always.
Yeah. Amazing. That was right. Kamal won the overall in that show, actually.
Okay. Jason Corrick. Wow. We're going way back.
He's just had a triple bypass, like me.
Jeez.
Yeah. He's fine now. But I was checking on him every now and again, just make sure he was okay, and every week or so.
Yeah. I bet a lot of you guys watching never heard of John Citrone, but boy, he's a legend.
Yeah, cool guy. I'm considering moving back up to the Northeast, actually.
Yeah, you've said that.
Yeah, I miss it. And I just, when I go up there, I always make sure I go and see John and Kim. Sometimes we stay at their house and go out for a meal, and because they're back and forth, and and he's kind of like a father figure to me, really, in some ways,
Yeah, cool dude. All right, well, we've been going for quite a while here, Giles. So, again, guys, Detroit Pro is this Saturday. Times are 9 a.m. judging. This is Eastern Standard Time, same time zone as New York City. 9 a.m., 5 p.m. I'm thinking they're going to start with amateurs, but I'm going to be doing watch parties for both judging and finals. Hopefully, Giles, you probably go to sleep for the final. That's going to be too late for you, but the judging, I think we can get you.
That's my red wine night, that way.
The red wine night. And Big Mike Cox will be joining, so it's going to be a really good time. Hang out with us. And that's it, Giles. Thank you for, again, another awesome episode of the Power Hour. And next time you want to break news about a new tour, we'll wait till next time.
Well, literally, I'm about to announce one in the next few days.
Okay. So next time we talk, guys, you'll hear about the next Olympia All-Star Tour, and it's a good one. They're all good ones, of course. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching Power Hour with me and the Tiger, Giles Tiger Thomas. We will see you right here next